And I can say without hesitation that James Coddington is the most deeply and sincerely remorseful person I have ever represented. He is not the same man who killed Albert Hale almost 25 years ago. James did not get much of a chance at life. He was born to alcoholic and drug-addicted parents. When he was just a few weeks old, his mother was sent to prison, and he was left in the care of his violent and alcoholic father. James is absolutely devastated and ashamed by what he did to Mr. Hale. He has unflinchingly accepted responsibility for taking Mr. Hale's life. But recognizing he cannot undo his actions, James has worked every day since to be the best prisoner he can and be the best person he can and help everyone around him and everyone he comes in contact with. The death penalty is supposed to be reserved for the very worst of the worst murderers. James Coddington is not that. He is a changed man.
Justice was achieved when James Coddington was pronounced guilty of first-degree murder for the killing of Albert Hale. He pled guilty, and the trial was about what his sentence would be. He has served 25 years in prison, the last 19 years on death row. He was 25 years old when he went into prison. He will die in prison. He's asking for his sentence to be commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole. We plead with the Pardon and Parole Board to show mercy to James Coddington.
Hello and welcome again to the Death Row and Executions channel. I'm Paco Rivera. During the murder trial of James Coddington, a man named Michael Oxley testified that in 1985, when James Coddington was 13 years old, Coddington beat him up and stole his bicycle. A woman named Nina Taylor testified that James Coddington, when he was 15 years old in the year 1988, came to her house late one night, banged on the door, and broke a window before fleeing. He was caught by sheriff's deputies shortly thereafter. A man known only as Marcos in records testified that when he parked his car one night, James Coddington approached him, began kicking the car, and then punching him. Coddington was then able to leave and return quickly with a bat that he used to strike Marcos and the car as Marcos drove away. Records show that James Coddington was incarcerated for 5 years for burglary from 1991 to 1996, from age 19 to 24. The following year, in 1997, James Coddington and a 73-year-old man named Albert Troy Hale had both worked at the Honda car parts store in Nicoma Park, Oklahoma, a part of the Oklahoma City area. They were friends as well. Coddington was now 25 years old and heavily addicted to crack cocaine. Coddington first went to a convenience store to rob it, but that did not get him enough money to feed his cocaine habit. He then went to Albert Hale's residence located near the city of Nicoma Park in a town called Choctaw. They watched television for about an hour, and then Coddington asked the older man to loan him $50. Mr. Hale refused. It's not clear in the reports where Coddington got the claw hammer from, whether he saw one at the residence and picked it up, or if he had it with him when he arrived at Hale's home, but he proceeded to strike Hale with the claw hammer, causing grave injuries. Coddington then removed a little over $500 in cash from Albert Hale's pocket and fled, thinking that Albert Hale was dead on the kitchen floor when he left the scene. Now, when I first saw this report, I thought, okay, Albert Hale is going to name his killer to somebody since he was still alive for about the next 24 hours. But no, that didn't happen. Albert Hale was eventually found by his son, Ron Hale. The place was quite a mess when he got there, and there was a lot of blood on the floor. By this time, Albert Hale was in bed, in and out of consciousness, and moaning in extreme pain as medics were called. The old man was transported first to Midwest City Hospital and then taken to Presbyterian Hospital in Oklahoma City. He died the following day. From blood splatter evidence, it appeared to investigators that Hale was assaulted in the kitchen. It appeared that Hale had got up, gone into the bathroom to clean himself up. He then changed into fresh clothes and then went to lie on the bed. The assault had apparently left Hale in a condition where he was unable to think or rationalize clearly about what had happened to him and what he should do. Hale also had many defensive wounds to his arms. James Coddington, after fleeing from Hale's home, then proceeded to rob several more convenience stores that day to feed his cocaine frenzy. Coddington was later arrested for the burglaries, and while at the police station getting interviewed by a robbery detective, he said to the detective something to the effect of, "I think you better get homicide in here." He then confessed to killing Albert Hale, who wasn't dead yet. But Hale did die a day later, and Coddington was charged with the murder, convicted, and sentenced to death. If this execution proceeds as scheduled, it will be the third execution in Oklahoma this year. Oklahoma has set execution dates for another 24 of the state's death row inmates, scheduling about one execution every month between this month of August and the year 2024. If you would like to see more of these death row stories, please subscribe so that you are alerted when the next one comes out. I'm Paco Rivera. Bye for now.